I just found the coolest accessory for your camera. This is the LD meter from Qi, also known as Chinotex. Now at first glance, the LD meter may not look all that revolutionary. We've all seen various hot shoe light meters before, but you've never seen one quite like this. You see, not only does it have a reflective light meter with aperture priority and shutter priority modes to give you accurate exposure, it's also got a laser rangefinder so you nail that focus each time too. This little 1-inch wonder packs quite a punch. It's perfect for those old vintage cameras that don't have autofocus or auto exposure. Now, full disclosure, most of my cameras are either simple box cameras where you don't have to set the focus or the exposure, or they're fully automatic cameras like the Canon EOS Rebels, where the focus and exposure are automatically set for you. So when Chinotex first sent me this free review unit to use, I didn't know what camera I was going to pair it with, and then I remembered I've got an old Olympus Trip 35 with a dead meter and it's zone focus, so I thought that would be the perfect combination. So I loaded a roll of Film Photography Project Color 125 film into the Trip 35, popped the LD meter onto the hot shoe, and headed out to give it a try. Before I show you how it worked in the field, let's check out a few specs. Its photosensitive element consists of silicone photodiode arrays. It measures an EV range of 1 to 22 with plus or minus 0.1 EV accuracy. It's got an ISO range of 3 to 8000, a shutter speed range of 1/8000th of a second to 60 seconds, and an aperture range of f1 to f64. It's got a 0.96-inch monitor readout, and I should mention in real life the data on the screen does not flicker at all. Any flickering you see in this video is just an artifact due to different refresh rates and just the meter and my video camera not being completely in sync. The whole thing is super compact. It's only 36 millimeters by 32 millimeters by 20 millimeters, and you charge the lithium battery with a USB-C interface. Now, as far as how long that battery lasts you, well, your mileage may vary. It depends on whether you're just using the light meter by itself or the light meter and the laser rangefinder, but it is rated for a standby time of 90 days. There are two versions of the LD meter, a light version and a pro version, both available in silver or black. I use the black Pro version. Now, the light version receives light at a 30-degree angle. The Pro version has a more narrow receiver sensor capturing light at a 7-degree angle, which makes it great for really zeroing in on specific highlights and shadows. At the time I'm recording this video, the light version is available for $119 and the Pro version retails for $139. So I use my LD meter in shutter priority mode because the Olympus Trip 35 has one default shutter speed of 1/40th of a second. Well, sort of. It's complicated. You see, if the old selenium cell on your Trip 35 is still working and you have the aperture ring set to A or automatic, it will actually toggle between two different shutter speeds, 1/200th of a second and 1/40th of a second. But these old selenium cells tend to die off, especially with extended exposure to moisture and light, and mine's been dead for quite a while. So as soon as you take the aperture ring off of A, then it will default to one single shutter speed of 1/40th of a second. And if you remember your exposure triangle, we've got three different variables to deal with. We've got the EI or ISO, which in this case is chosen for us with the film speed being 125. We got the shutter speed, which again is the default of 1/40th of a second. And that just leaves one variable, the aperture, and that's what we're going to let the meter decide for us. So with the shutter speed set at 1/40th of a second and the ISO set at 125, now when we take a reading, it will give us the aperture value or f-stop. We set that on the aperture ring on the camera, we should be good to go. Okay, so as cool as the light meter is, what really sets the LD meter apart from other meters is the laser rangefinder, which helps you measure the distance to your subject. It's rated to measure distances from 0.1 meters to 50 meters. When I posted an unboxing video of the meter on social media, the number one question I got was, can you reset the units from meters to feet? Well, yes, you can reset it, and it's easy. As a matter of fact, setting all the parameters like the ISO, the shutter speed, the aperture, it's all easy. Everything is controlled with one button and this adjustment dial. To switch between meters and feet, you simply press the button for 5 seconds and then turn the adjustment dial to your desired unit. The procedures for switching this and all the other parameters are helpfully listed in this tiny little user manual. The only other button on the meter has one function to turn the laser rangefinder on or off. Now, this is a class 2 laser product with a wavelength between 620 and 670 nanometers. And the manual does state in a couple places, do not stare into beam, and that's super important. Now, as far as the accuracy of the laser rangefinder is concerned, the fact that my photos came out in focus is a pretty good testament to the rangefinder's ability. Plus, it passed my super scientific tape measure test too. All right, here's a couple clips showing the LD meter out in the field for a night shoot. Got a cool marquee uptown Westerville, so we're gonna go ahead and fire up our meter and see what it says. Your button. You can see that little red laser right underneath the end there. It's giving us f6.4 in distance, about 19 to 20 feet almost. Closest aperture we have is f5.6. We're going to try that. And we're going to leave it right about infinity. See what happens. There's the sign. We're going to push our little button here to activate the laser. And it's telling us, let's focus, f2.0 coming in just a little bit under 7 feet. So we're going to go ahead and set our settings and give it a shot. Closest we have is f2.8, so that's what we're going to have to go with. Then on our distance scale, we're going to set it just under 7 feet. Here's a few daytime shots. I think the LD meter dialed in exposure really well. As a final test of the LD meter, I decided to compare its metering ability against a meter that I trust, which is the light meter on my phone. So I dialed in my shutter speed of 1/40th of a second and my ISO of 125, and it gave me an aperture value of f11. I fired up the LD meter with the same shutter speed and ISO, and yep, f11 again, perfect match. Now I think it's a reasonable question to ask, if the meter on my phone gave me the same results as the LD meter, why wouldn't I just use the meter on my phone? Well, for me, there's two reasons I prefer to use the LD meter. Number one is to save the battery on my phone. When I'm out shooting in the field, I'm using my phone for navigation. I'm using my phone for all the B-roll or video footage, so using it to meter would just drain the battery even quicker. The second reason I prefer to use the LD meter is convenience. With the phone, I've got to pull it out of my pocket. It's another thing for me to hold my hand. With the LD meter, it's already there, right there on the hot shoe. Super convenient, I don't have to hold anything. Now there's two other things I want to point out that I think really speak to Qi's attention to detail. Number one is the packaging. This does not affect the meter's performance. It's purely aesthetic, so you may not care about this. But the box design really does make you feel like you're dealing with a well-crafted premium product. The second detail is subtle, but this one does affect performance. You can see it when you attach the meter to a hot or cold shoe. It's this little metal piece that applies some tension to guarantee a nice snug fit so your meter doesn't accidentally fall off. Again, a little thing, but a really nice touch. Big thanks to chinotex.com for sending me this meter to use. If you want to grab one for yourself, I've got a link in the description. And if you want to check out more cool products like this one, make sure you subscribe to the channel, where I now have 390 free videos all about film photography, with many more to come. Until next time, do some good, have some fun, and shoot some film.